Welcome to Design Stand-Up, Episode 12, Scaling Design. Let's create better platform experiences with a design system. And Accessibility Awareness. Let's make the internet accessible to everyone, by Joe Pascavage of Think Company.
And I'm your host, Ryan Stone, reading to you every Tuesday and Thursday from the best blogs in the design industry, with their permission, of course. It's kind of like a free ongoing audiobook, always being updated with new content from your favorite designers. Whether you are a seasoned design professional or simply a design enthusiast, I am on a mission to help grow your knowledge in all things digital design.
Today's post comes from Joe Pascavage, a talented and influential design lead at Think Company in Philadelphia, PA. Joe covers a relevant and often overlooked topic, accessibility. We also will be touching on good old design systems. So without further ado, let's stand up. Scaling Design. Let's create better platform experiences with a design system, by Joe Pascavage of Think Company. Quote, "It's through mistakes that you actually can grow. You have to get bad in order to get good." End quote. You can't fathom the amount of design and technical debt I've witnessed stack up throughout the years in both large and small organizations. And no matter how much you chip away, it inevitably just grows and unfortunately even collects dust. I typically always find myself in a position where I'm either spearheading the creation of some sort of style guide, performing a visual or interaction audit, or diving into not so simply creating libraries of Sketch and Photoshop templates to share among a sea of designers that may or may not use them. I've done all of this because of two simple reasons: inconsistency and inefficiency. Because as a person who has an absolute passion for design, this drives me completely bananas, and I can't stand witnessing the chaos. I know I'm not alone in feeling this way. To be honest, I'm not sure what designer doesn't at least feel the same to a degree, especially when the awesome experience we're spending so much time to develop is at risk of not making any sense, and obvious becomes less and less. With good design, obvious is not something that's easy to come by. It's the result of a lot of iteration in the design and development process to get to a place where something just works. It just simply is obvious. It's where we find that what we're designing helps the user's relationship with technology. Simple and obvious opportunities are all too often missed for silly reasons, like there are too many conflicting shades of gray, or there are too many variances in how a call to action is styled. One may criticize the other in thinking the opposite just isn't doing their job adequately, when in reality, as product organizations grow, and especially if you're a design and engineering team spread across numerous sub-teams, you will suffer from this 100-fold. Time and effort you spend chasing down the debt will leave you feeling like Bill Murray in Groundhog Day. Why consider a design system? Let's first acknowledge that design is still bespoke. It's struggling to scale with applications because we're oftentimes designing tailor-made solutions for individual problems. Having a living and breathing design system in place will allow us to enable our teams to build better products more quickly. It'll help us make design reusable, and that reusability, in turn, is what makes scale possible for us. At its core, this is what the number one benefit is of having a design system. We'll help provide a future-friendly foundation for all to work more efficiently. If we're pushing our teams to work too fast without a design system in place, the reality is bespoke design doesn't scale, not in the slightest. It's very slow, inconsistent, and awful to maintain. With a design system, product teams are still going to be able to move faster, but they'll be smarter about it as well. Think also beyond this as simply a tool for just designers. This is an ever-evolving Bible, in a sense, for engineering, product, and design to always fall back to. When these teams aren't working through solutions together, we're losing the opportunity to build empathy and learn from one another. Doing so will ultimately help you create your own system that's rock solid. When teams grow, it's very common to focus on specific areas of a product, and you can potentially become less connected to one another. This leads to a very disjointed visual language where parties begin speaking with their own nomenclature. You're now solving problems individually and not systematically. Once you begin to realize how inconsistent, incomplete, and difficult to maintain this madness is, you will understand the necessity of developing a sharing power like this, which will, in turn, restore efficiency. Resources. There are a number of organizations out there that have made their systems public to gain inspiration from. Google's material design used to be the main one that was always tossed around in conversations over the years. As of recently, though, more and more literature has been popping up to help kickstart your own design system, which is great to see. A few of my own personal favorites are: number 1, Brad Frost's Atomic Design. Check out any and everything from this guy in general. Brad tells it how it is, and it's extremely refreshing. Number 2, Design Systems Handbook. InVision and DesignBetter.co teamed up on this wonderful piece about building your own design system. It's a must-read for sure. Number 3, InVision Design System Manager. If you haven't heard yet, check out this new tool coming soon from InVision. I've only had early access to the beta for the last few weeks, but so far it looks very promising. Perfect for those struggling to kick off building the foundation of the system itself. It integrates beautifully with Sketch as well. And number 4, Salesforce Lightning Design System. A personal favorite of mine, Salesforce, in my mind, is setting a benchmark for creating the ultimate design system. It's easy to follow and so very clear and succinct. I hope you enjoyed this read and will find value in how a design system may be of benefit to your team. At the core of it all, we should always be reminding ourselves that we are problem solvers. Let's embrace this when approaching how to scale design more systematically, as it will allow us to expand on new and exciting opportunities more quickly and still keep team members aligned and in sync. Accessibility Awareness. Let's make the internet accessible to everyone, by Joe Pascavage of Think Company. First, I'll ask you this. As a designer, do you actually know what digital accessibility is? You may be surprised to hear how many reply with something along the lines of, well, yeah, sort of, or aren't they guidelines or something? They're not really clear anyway, or a very abrupt no. I feel like this should really make me feel disappointed, and in some ways it certainly does. But if I'm being completely honest, I'm not shocked. Many of us, especially those with a few years under our belt, are not conditioned to hone in on these senses, at least not at first. You see articles about accessibility popping up left and right in design literature more frequently now, just like this very blog post you're reading. It's awesome to witness the momentum it's made over the last few years, and it gives me hope, but I know we can do better. In some cases, I've also heard it referred to as a fad. If you even believe this to be partially true, I highly recommend you to reconsider that notion. Once you begin to realize what's at stake and how a portion of your audience isn't capable of appreciating all the hard work that goes into your product, I can tell you from firsthand experience it feels like a real Schwarzenegger punch in the stomach. So why should we be inclusive? Taking a step back, I'd like to share with you my own journey to building this into my everyday routine. As a designer, I was raised on a very aesthetics-driven mentality. Keeping accessibility in mind wasn't at the forefront, let alone in the background when advancing through my workflow. I remember the exact moment at WWDC a few years ago when the light bulb truly went off for me based on the following. Number 1, there are 7.5 billion people in the world. Number 2, over 1 billion have a disability worldwide. That's like saying 1 out of every 7 people on the planet Earth have some sort of disability. Number 3, 285 million globally are either completely blind or have low vision. Compare that to the entire population of the US, that's 88%. And number 4, 82% with blindness are over 50 and the majority are female. Think about the audience you may be designing an interface for and how this may potentially measure up. It's tough to describe how I felt after really grasping those numbers. A part of me felt ignorant and embarrassed for all these years. Above all, the important takeaway for myself, and for you to consider, is how to decide to take action. Start to seek out the answers to your questions even if you don't know some of the basics. There's no shame in that. Evaluate your business or product and think about putting on a roadshow to inspire how everyone can collectively make a difference. You can never know too much, as there is a continuance of information always growing around best practices. Believe that we should always be considering how we can create as much of an equal experience as possible for all. Understand what being compliant means, but always act on doing what's right. Defer from focusing solely on meeting the bare minimum of compliance. One company I've had the pleasure to personally partner with is BOIA, the Bureau of Internet Accessibility. To date, I've sought out 21 classes around digital accessibility, and Team Treehouse is a wonderful resource to name just a few. Although nothing can compare to the 2-day in-person course I took with BOIA, the instructors were outstanding. The greatest part of the experience was learning firsthand from those that were either low vision or completely blind. To me, it was priceless to gain such perspective, not just technically, but hearing their side of the story as well. As designers, it's our duty to educate about this topic and not necessarily pass blame to others when we find something that isn't accessible. Rather, let's be more open to learning how to better support one another and, more importantly, spread awareness. When critiquing a design, it's easy to forget about accessibility and rely solely on instinct for what looks okay, or in some cases what is preferred. Decide to go a level deeper and guide your peers to think differently, even if they aren't a designer. As with anything, be it learning how to code for the first time or ensuring your experience is accessible, you'll start to naturally gain some better perspective as you begin to dedicate more time and form better habits. More and more, companies are better embracing the importance of design because of the gateway it paves to the wealth of information unlocked by the internet. It's literally what humanizes the massive set of information and makes it useful. We have this unique superpower to harness this and design an accessible world for everyone. So what are you waiting for? Let's get to it. You just listened to the post titled, Scaling Design, Let's Create Better Platform Experiences with a Design System, and Accessibility Awareness, Let's Make the Internet Accessible to Everyone, by Joe Pascavage of Think Company. If you want to learn more about Joe and read some of his other amazing design articles, just press the link in the show notes. You can also access his full episode, along with others, at designstandup.com. Oh, and before you go, don't forget to check out the brand new Design Stand-Up group on LinkedIn, where you can connect and learn from designers across the globe, chat about the latest episodes, and much more. You can find the link in the show notes, or just search Design Stand-Up on LinkedIn's website or app. Well, that's all I have for you today, guys. It's been a pleasure. Until next time, fill up those coffees, turn up those tunes, and let's design a better world.